Back to the low APM challenge. We've been moving up the ranks in StarCraft 2, working smarter and not harder, trying to get to the higher leagues with just a judicious application of macro, a sprinkling of micro, and of course plenty of salt. With Terran, we've made it to the Golden Leagues. We've made it past all the other Terrans who just finished the normal Wings of Liberty campaign, ventured out into multiplayer, and are still building battlecruisers on 2-base, into the Golden Leagues, past many of the Zergs who tried to rush down our walls. And, of course, those Protoss who were hunting after the Zergs as well. Still statistically, through the Gold League, Terrans are overrepresented. But with a smart and relatively flexible build order of the 1-1-1 and some slight adjustments as we go further up the leagues for each matchup, we'll be moving in with Bio versus Mech, advanced units like Libs and Ghosts, as well as late game Army and Control and some advanced benchmarks. So, let us once again jump in to the most difficult, competitive, stressful 1v1 game, so that way you can pretend like you're actually going to play it once again in 2022. Thank you for tuning in to the Low APM Challenge. Like, subscribe, ring the bell. Thank you for all your amazing questions and commentary and just general demeanor, from your sleeping habits to complaining about Protoss. And thank you for watching. We're starting out this time at Gold 2, which means we're going to be a little more focused on matchup-dependent builds. We're in the new patch. Okay, the new patch that changes several things. Widow Mines with Drilling Claws burrow very slightly slower. Not that we had built any of those, but if we had, they would be slower now. Lurkers with their upgrades now burrow slower. Still pretty quick. And DTs with Blink take a little longer to attack. I think the big one overall is that Queens, oh my, can no longer transfuse off of creep, which is not a huge deal so much against Terran, but just something to note. So overall, Terran's kind of got away from this update with relatively little change. Oh yeah, do we have... The limit is 70 actions per minute. Of course, for every 5 I go over, I'll be gifting the subs to the people. I'll pay for it. Is the plan. And that is on average, of course, as just holding down the Marine key will sometimes get you over that number. We're up against Random. Alright. He did not tell me his race, and honestly, probably below the Masters or higher Diamond level. I wouldn't believe him if he did. So, I am going to be scouting same time off that 17th SCV. Get 3 in gas, 16 barracks, 17 refinery. It's going to be 20 orbital, and the command center, second depot, and factory after that. And by 20 orbital, I mean after we build a marine. So 19 technically. We'll see what race we're dealing with here. Scouts and SCVs, except, well, we'll see first. It is a Protoss, Cybercore, Forge. You might be like, oh my god, a Forge. No. He has a Cybercore and then a Forge. So this doesn't mean he's cheesing. It means he has no plan. There is a difference. So I'm going to have that SCV. We're going to leave. Marine, come back. What I'm going to do is rally the SCV from the supply depot to build a bunker. Because once he gets a Cybercore done, he could build like a Stalker or an Adept, and that could be annoying. He also had 2 gases in his base, which is something to note. Those 2 gases mean he has access to pretty much whatever tech he wants after. So with that said, actually, I'm just going to check the obvious spots. I'm going to patrol the Marine or shift-click the Marine in the most obvious spots for proxy Stargate. The factory's about halfway done. Let's get the second gas. Going to send the scouting SCV back in right around 3 minutes, because that's when, if he's going to go for any tech, that's when it would be. Second base finishes. Orbital. Gonna go mine from it, drop a mule, get a tech lab on the factory, and start a starport. So, we saw a sentry, we saw a cannon, we saw a shield battery, we saw a nexus. None of those are gonna pick up, walk across the map, and attack me. Well, the sentry technically could. It would be more like... It shouldn't. But it could, I guess. So, that means there's nothing here to worry about. Now we are at nearly 30 SCVs. I'm going to start a tank. If I was scared of... So, this is a bit of the difference in our matchup-specific builds. If I was scared of some sort of big attack, well, I'd probably still build a tank. If I was scared of a Stargate unit or something, I would probably instead be building a Cyclone or a Widowmine. I get these 2 gases down here as well. 3 racks, 4 gas. I'm going to build the engineering bay as part of the wall, as well as 2 more depots. I'm pretty sure that's a correct wall. It doesn't look right. I think it's close. I'm getting a Raven. So that's what we're going to get in the habit of. You may have seen in many pro games, the Raven is just well, let's see. It's a wall. It's a perfect wall. I'm a genius. You see? You see? And then it funnels them. If you turn the build grid on, it gets easier. But it definitely looks weird, I will say. I'm going to get +1, and then we're building... This is kind of an observer/DT defense depot here. So, 2 tech labs. I'm at 5 minutes. 5 minutes is the next level of potential tech. Gonna get a depot on the corner. He keeps sending in, that's a hallucinated Phoenix. I don't really care. He'll see what I'm doing. Whatever. We're gonna... Once I get the Raven, I'm going to move this over to Reactor. Gonna build another tank. Some more depots. We're at 45 SCVs now. I'm gonna scan the main. He's building a carrier and 2 more Stargates. So, yeah, that was a pretty good scan. So you might think, oh my god, panic. No. You know what counters carriers? Marines. So. The reason Marines don't always counter carriers is because a lot of the time they can go Storm or get Colossi. But if they're going for carriers at the 5-minute mark, they don't have any of these things. So I'm building a 3rd command center before 50 SCVs, but after 40. I'm getting the 111, the triple upgrade, the Triforce of Terran. +1, combat shield, and stim. Those 3 you'll see come together, and then I was supposed to be building medevacs here. I built Vikings. I think I was thinking about Vikings. Vikings are not bad, but those should have been medevacs. Well, we're still going to be moving out here. So the objective will not be to outright kill the carriers necessarily. It will be to kill all the interceptors. Because until he has like 5 or more carriers, then it's very possible to kill the interceptors. So essentially just A-moving, essentially. That is the plan. The tanks can be helpful as well for killing things like shield batteries. We're getting the orbital. I'm going to make sure before I attack I get all the hotkeys set up. We're going to get an armory, an engineering bay. I'm going to get some more supply depots. Going to control F1. We got kind of drawn into the fight here, but I'm going to drop down auto turrets. Yeah, this was a mistake out of me. What did I do? I just kind of A-moved. And I let the fight keep happening. That was a big mistake. So that is annoying to deal with. So now he has all those carriers. And I lost most of my units, which is not great. But I'm getting the upgrades. I'm going to move everything over to the third. We're going to get some... We're going to raise the TPM on the corners. Drop the mules. +2 attack. So I made a mistake. I was just doing my best cosplay, which is essentially just doing what your average Terran will do, which is a move in that scenario. We do have some trouble now. The carriers are a lot to deal with here. I may die because I made the mistake that you really shouldn't, which is attacking before you have the numbers. The medevacs are very important. Get those turrets up here as well. We'll see. He has +1 attack and +1 shields. The actual answer could also be to sit back and build some Vikings. It looks like we may have the critical mass of Marines now, though, which is helpful. He can rebuild, but interceptors are not free. It might feel like it, but they are not outright free. So now we're sitting back and building even more Marines with as many upgrades as we can put together. Let's see. Does he have that base? He does not. I'm sending a Marine out to scout. Just gonna shift click one off.
Forces are under attack.
Once, I'm actually gonna drop mules in the main. So what is this gonna do? It's going to mine out my main quicker. So that way I can lift my main command center. Yes. To my third. This is a bit of a desperation move. But desperate times.
Our base is under attack.
We'll stem. I'm actually going to target the carriers now. We'll scan to make sure we have some detection. Does he have too many interceptors? We'll find out. I killed a few carriers, but I made that mistake. Stim again. Scan. Because the scan also cloaks the interceptors.
That mineral cluster's mined out. Mineral cluster depleted.
We use the time warp here. He's out of interceptors now. Means we can kill the carriers. He knows how to recall. You gotta be very careful. Ground units don't really counter carriers, as we're seeing.
Depleted that mineral cluster.
That was a very expensive scenario for him. But it is still rough for me. Gonna go build another command center. We got 200 minerals left at these.
Upgrade complete.
We now got +2 armor on the Marines. The upgrades are very important on the Marines. Alright, moving to the third. Gonna box all the SCVs there as well. We're full of mules. He has +2 attack.
Got forces under attack out there.
I know, Swan. I know. First priority is making sure I can just keep building Marines. Medevacs are good, but I need that critical mass. Gonna get a sensor tower here. There's no reason to build a planetary. It does nothing against the mass carrier. I'm gonna get +1 ship armor. I've got plenty of gas, but there's no real... It's at this point that ghosts are considered as well. Just in general, you can EMP interceptors, which is quite good.
Our command center's been upgraded.
I drop some mules. Interceptors by default have about they have 40 HP and 40 shields, so they're pretty squishy. You can't target them directly except through like those A moves. Gonna boost the medevacs over. And we're just A-clicking on those interceptors. Try to bring as many reinforcements as possible. I'm actually out of scans, but... If it is just carriers, the Marines, this has all kind of spiraled since that first bad attack. But eventually, if he just keeps building carriers, the Marines get better and better. And yeah, that's the first fight that is worth considering, just a big counterattack. I got 2 ghosts. Put them on the 3 key. Gonna build up at home, get high-sec auto-tracking, enhanced shockwaves, gonna scan, yeah. So,
that mineral cluster's mined out.
The ghosts themselves are not bad either. I'm gonna right-click and then A-click under the carriers. Once the interceptors are dead, which is the mistake I made a few times now. More Marines, couple medevacs, beautiful pylon setups. Yeah. Which is, of course, makes them much more vulnerable because I can kill all the pylons at one time.
Looks like that research is done.
That is one way to tap it out. I don't know. I made a lot of Marines. We'll see. Did we make it? No! His low APM challenge is going well. I will give him some credit. 39 APM of carriers. I made the critical mistake I hadn't really gotten in the mindset, guys, of the low APM challenge. Because, I'll be honest, up against a higher level player, I see them going 2-base carrier. I imagine they're going to follow it up with a ground army, so you try to cut them off before their third. But here, the plan was carriers, and then it was going to be a quick transition into more carriers. So that is a total failure to kick things off. That's 2 to the people. And I guess the summary is, if his transition was going to be into like Colossi or Storm, probably wouldn't be in gold. So, moving up. Isn't the aim 70? It is. In case it wasn't clear, it's to be below.
52 subs to viewers.
Not above. The sheer amount of Marines produced definitely bumped those numbers up, as it takes 6 actions to build 6 supply of Marines, and only 1 action to build 6 supply of carriers. Not that we're counting. Besides, literally, we are counting, but I don't... Why not Thors or Widowmines versus Interceptors? Thors are not better than Marines. And they're more expensive. And they don't share upgrades. And you can't just build them. Widowmines are just as likely to shoot you in the face. Widowmines are good until the Interceptors fly over your Marines. That's when they get less good. Technically, Widowmines are a very good counter. But they can kill you just as much as they kill... Imagine a Widowmine takes out 30 out of 80 Interceptors and damages half your Marines to the point they're in the red. Well. Also, Widowmines don't... Do they one-shot? I don't know. I don't think so. They one-shot 1 Interceptor, but multiple splash. So... Generally, Widowmines are a risky business. How players like Clem actually deal with like the mass... This is, of course, combined with a ground army, but the way they deal with the mass carrier is Marine Medevac Tank. Yes, the same solution to everything. Because the tanks are what keep the ground army at bay, so you can actually just keep fighting with the Marines against the carriers. The Marines zone out the Interceptors, and then the tank zone out the ground army. Though that takes some finesse. What about Thors? Thors require an armory and cost 500 resources. Also, you need enough of them to actually... Like, you essentially have to be going mech in order to make Thors a thing. They aren't bad in the later game if you have, like, 4 bases, but they're just very expensive, and 1 Thor is just a target. I think I am just going to continually wall off in the most creatively terrible ways possible. That's the plan. Vikings are good, once again. All these units are good when you have... Like, if they're rushing carriers, the point is that they were making just carrier. So... If you just go to Vikings, you're not going to be able to defend your base. Like, you're not going to be able to build enough Vikings to counter the carrier rush. You're already building Marines. Rarely do you scout the carrier rush the moment it starts. And even if you do. Marines are... They don't cost gas. In a... Like, if they built... an army, and now they're going carrier, that's when you add Vikings, because you already have Marines and Medevacs. If they started out like Void Rays, and then they're going carrier, I mean, you're still going Marines and Medevac. Terran, don't be creative, Terrans. Alright? Creativity is for Protoss. Terran was figured out 12 years ago, and we're still kind of doing the same thing because it works just so damn well. And Zerg? No, creativity is not for Zergs. Zergs build queens. It's just like a defensive, boring version. There's a little more creativity in the late game for Zergs, but... Alright, let's get those 2 extra Rex at 30 SCVs. Gonna get an engineering bay. I didn't build a bunker because he expanded so early, but I probably should have one. I always get annoyed when players don't build a bunker when they have the resources. Like, come on. Those are 2 shield batteries. Those are adepts. Alright. Well, we're gonna get a Raven. +1 attack. We're at 40. Can get these gases. 40 equal 4 gas. 30 equals 3 racks. I'm gonna move these ones over. Getting a little fancy here. I don't know what he's going for, but I know what he's not. Having 2 shield batteries and at least 3 gateways. We saw him warp in 3 adepts at a time. So, that gives away the 3 gates.
Add-ons good to go.
Am I at 50 SCVs? Not yet, but I have the money. Partially because I'm not building many units, but... Combat shield. Drop mules. Marines into the bunker. Rally point existing. There's not a small chance this guy's also a big carrier fan. I'm sending a Marine towards each of the bases here. This probe. Gonna get some depots. What was that? An observer. Just flew into the turret. We'll take a look up here. So he's got a forge upgrading. We know he has a robo because an observer just flew into my turret in the main. He's taking a 3rd base. So, once these depots finish, which we're kind of late, we're looking at a 2 medevac, 1 Raven, Triforce timing. Or... not to overlap with the terminology for the Protoss, a triple threat timing. The stim, combat shields, and +1 attack. Ideally at least 2, maybe 3 tanks. 3 I think is a better number, obviously, but if you have only 2. I'm gonna get the extra racks here. I'm gonna hotkey the Raven. We're just gonna leave the units in the bunker. If 4 Marines make or break this, it probably wasn't gonna happen anyways.
Our command center's been upgraded.
Can land that 3rd command center. Make sure. We're gonna do a quick scan. So the scan, I'm not centering it on the base. I'm giving some vision behind. So gonna make sure I'm producing things. Get a tank, and target the pylon. 1 more scan. There's his army. I'm gonna use anti-armor missile, which reduces his, well, he takes extra damage. And, well, there you go. He did kind of walk into it. But the scans are very important to get in the habit of. A lot of Terran players will see just with their eye holes, or maybe a medevac in front, nothing, and like 2 steps out of vision range are, I don't know, 20 charge lots or 3 colossi. But they'll stim in and they'll already be committed, kind of like me in the first game. where I just, well, I'm here, like, which is not the way you want to take the fight. If he had his army sitting on his third, I might not have attacked at all. Because I already had my third quicker, right? Like, I already had a third. If you get your third command center at a similar time to their third nexus, you're usually ahead. Because you have mules. Usually it's harder for Terrans in Legacy of the Void to get a third than Protoss. But so if you can just sit back and have a defended third, you're ahead most of the time. Will you win the fight without anti-armor missile? It is likely, though less one-sided. Anti-armor missile is big, but it was more the 3 tanks getting huge shots off on an army that kind of sucked because it was full of stalkers. Alright, we're going to start acknowledging that Terran versus Terran is slightly different. So what we're going to be doing is a Reaper opener. You might be like, oh my god, micro. No. We're only doing a Reaper opener because if he builds a Reaper, we need to have a Reaper. That's the summary. So the Reaper will stay. It's still a 1 Rex expand, but I will be building a couple Reapers to start things off. Because in the higher levels, the summary is you have to go Reaper Hellion. Because it just beats anything that isn't Reaper Hellion. A bunker with Marines doesn't solve it because the Reapers can jump in. You'd have to build 2 bunkers. If you don't have Hellions, your Reapers lose to the Hellions. Like, there are some builds that are like rushing out a Cyclone, but there's almost essentially never will you see just like a Marine into an expansion, because that is admitting that a Reaper would kill you. So now, I'm not going to worry about doing any damage to my opponent. In fact, apparently I'm not scouting because I forgot. But he's Terran. What's the worst that could go wrong? He could have 2 barracks right here and be building Reapers right now. He could, yeah. That is the worst. That would be very bad for me. But if he's not doing that, it's fine. So my second depot will go on the employee entrance, aka the Reaper Cliff.
Command center's been upgraded.
Instead of walling off, because walling off against Terran is not nearly as required. Knowing if Reapers are in your base is the equivalent of walling off. You could even commit to just walling off the jump location like a Protoss, but most players won't do that. I'm getting my second gas before the factory here, because unlike the other matchups, gas is very important in TVT. Because Marines suck. For once, Marines, they suck. Marines are not good. I'm building a couple now just to have the gas. Alright, well, you see the Reaper jump. I'm gonna micro, 8-click, 8-click. So, now that I won the Reaper fight, I can go across the map.
Your forces are under attack.
We'll throw a grenade. As you see here, he actually has 2 racks of Reapers. The Sly Dog. But he made the mistake of jumping in. And this is why you kind of have to go Reaper. Because otherwise I have nothing.
Our command center's been upgraded.
I'm building a Hellion. I'm still building Marines here, mostly to put in the bunkers. So he didn't build, he built the racks in his, it was actually 3 racks, but so this is why we are now building Reapers in TVT, because the first step, I think what everyone does when they learn like a new strategy is they push it as far as it can go. They're like, well, I've heard Reapers are good in this matchup, so I'm just going to build Reapers. Right? Hearthstone played this build, the build where someone built a bunch of Reapers. Or, like, he built a bunch of Reapers. Yeah, that's Credit to Hearthstone for inventing that. Good job on that. I'm sure no one else has tried it in the past. But, so, we are about the level where, thank you, DJ Merlin, where players will start trying fancy builds. And attempting to, like, nab a win. Especially in, like, TVT, nobody likes mirror matchups. In any race, nobody is a big fan of mirror matchups. Maybe me. We made it to Gold 1! With quality over quantity. But yeah, so that is why it's like in PvP, walling off against depths. In ZVZ is just walling off against Zerglings. You may notice a trend here, like it's essentially walling off to make sure these, and in that case, it's not so much walling off as just having vision of the Reaper jump. So it's slightly different, but the same concepts apply. At least he didn't get supply blocked. It doesn't say 0-0, it just says 0 when you're not supply blocked at all, which is amusing. Just straight 0. 0 anything. Is that metric? I do appreciate that Terran demonstrating why. I'm actually going to do the correct one Rax expand. I was doing it wrong before, but partially intentionally. So this is a gas first build. In order to actually get a factory in a timely manner and expand, the factory is usually the more important part. You usually need to go either 2 gas or gas first. I'm not going to be doing a 2 gas build. That gets a little complicated and like unnecessarily so. Because you're adding and removing SCVs from gas at certain times, and if you remove them too early, then you don't actually have the tech, and if you remove them too late, it slows down everything else. But gas first, it'll slightly delay your barracks, but it'll allow you to get a factory very soon after you do the 1 Rax expand. So, and I'm going to scout before the 1 minute mark here, because otherwise his barracks will finish and he'll have units. So, all I'm looking for on his side, if I get in, I can see if he has 2 gases. If I don't get in, I can see if his barracks is in his base, pretty much. Like, maybe I can take a glimpse of whether he's going to expand, but it's essentially, is your barracks in your base, is most of what I'm scouting for here. Alright, so that's a yes. He lets me in. Look for the gas. 1 gas. He's got 2 gases. So, oh, he trapped me. What a McDick. So now I have to decide whether I'm expanding to the low ground. And I am. It's a little vulnerable, but okay, we're going to get a little advanced. He wasn't mining with 3 in each of the gases. Notice my gas now, though. I have enough to be able to get a factory. I'm going to put the depot on the employee entrance. He has a Reaper, not surprising. And we'll keep building up. I like to keep my Reaper right here on the ramp, so that way it can move between either area. Now, there's a small chance I lose the SCV at the natural, but I can move between either area, and he doesn't see me unless he comes within range. So, like, at the top of the ramp is where he does not have vision. So, starting a Hellion. And with this build, you don't get a starport as quick. Because you just don't have the gas for it. But getting that factory... Once I have 3 Reapers and 2 Hellions, that's essentially it. You got it down. Because past that is when you should be able to defend. And this is when you want to put add-ons on pretty much everything. Once I have 3 Reapers and 2 Hellions, I'm actually going to poke out a bit. I'm going to start a tech lab. Get a depot on the corner here.
Our command center's been upgraded.
Gonna get a gas on the low ground, which is pretty much an immediate thing. Get a tech lab there.
Add-ons good to go.
And I'm just gonna pick a side to sit on the high ground of. So he took 2 gas, which means I almost certainly expanded faster than him. It's not really possible for him to take 2 gas and wall off and also expand faster than me. Doesn't work. So the math ain't there. So we had a Cyclone. I'm just going to flip to the other side now. See if he gets clever. I have my own Cyclone. And we're going to build an engineering bay, as well as 2 more wrecks. Starting a siege tank. We're just going to sit back now. Though. I was thinking about doing so. Maybe at the higher levels we would counterattack at this time. Because I probably have enough to take map control. But that is quite micro-intensive. This is one of the most micro-intensive early game armies. You got Reaper, Hellion, Cyclone, and then we're even adding Raven. Because the Raven is why people don't go Cloak Banshee. So, but after the Raven, Starport flips on over. Why is there a dog under my wreck? Move! Where did the dog go? It's hiding between them. I'm gonna patrol the Cyclone in my main at the corner. It's just looking for any air units that come in. We're gonna siege up that tank, start stim, and start Vikings. Now, I'm gonna send out a Reaper to see what's up. We're gonna start that +1. What is my SCV count? Oh, we can get a 3rd command center. And I have the minerals, let's be honest here. Okay, barracks 4 and 5. And then I get supply block, so more depots and drop supply.
Add-on complete.
So this means he had some units at home. At all, like having the Cyclone. So, just make sure I keep my tank sieged up. I'm going to go for 6 Vikings. As long as I'm consistently building them, I should be okay. I like to put the Raven and Viking on control 3. 6 Vikings is usually making sure you win the early air battles without delaying your medevacs too long. More reactors. The only tech lab is for stim and combat shield. The reason you don't go for many Marauders in Marine Tank versus Marine Tank is supply for supply, cost for cost, and pound for pound. Marines are just better. Marauders take extra damage from siege tanks. They cost 2 supply, and they require a tech lab, so the overall DPS of your army is lower. Against mech, Marauders are good. Okay, so let's see. He has less. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to build a Liberator. I'm not going to worry about the siege up. So first thing, tell yourself, he's sieging me. Don't panic. We're just going to chill. I'm building a Liberator because I will have air control. We'll get a couple more Vikings. I'm going to hotkey in those NG bays and all that. So he's obviously interested in doing some damage here. I'm just not panicking, and I'm spending my money. That siege tank push isn't threatening anything. A lot of people will see a siege tank and immediately pull everything and attack. What is he threatening right now? He's not attacking anything. Let's see. Now he's not even there. I think he was scared. Alright. I'm going to A-click on the minimap. And we're sending out scout marines. We're going to get +2 and mech upgrades. Move over the command center. Control F1 for all those idle workers. And as I take a third, that's when I'm focused a lot more on making sure I have vision. Are you stuck back there? How did you get stuck in that tiny look? Oh my god. Stupid series. Gonna get some turrets as well. Need a little more vision.
That mineral cluster's mined out.
I'll make sure he's there. Yep. Let's check his upgrades. He has +1. How about his tanks? Nothing. So, I mean, I didn't expect him to have necessarily anything, but, you know, maybe. That's sometimes a tell that he's going for potentially mech as well.
Got forces under attack.
How many SCVs? 60? Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to queue up full round of SCVs on all the command centers, and that'll be it. I'm done. Good job, me. 15 more SCVs will do it. We're going to drop a couple mules. Get the gases. Going to get another factory. Building another round of things. Give me a tank. And a couple more medevacs. Okay, we'll drop supply. It's not like I'm gonna need the minerals here. Right click, shift 1, 2. Right click, shift 1, 2. And you guys can build me some command centers. I got the money. About to be maxed out. 11 minutes, 2-2. Getting +2 mech. So, at this point, the target is usually around 10 tanks. Whatever Vikings you put together, at least 4 medevacs. And, well, there we are. Let's check. And there he is. So, I'm building more starports. Why? Because that's how you actually win the game. I'm maxed out, we're attacking. But, if he's too entrenched, then I'm gonna need to switch it up. So.
Forces are under attack.
I can just right click over here. We're gonna stim. And yes, this is gonna hurt. But just shift click those auto turrets. The Raven honestly was more for stopping detection earlier. So essentially, if you're maxed out and you can get more tanks into a good position, it's worth attacking. If it's questionable, like if he had 10 tanks on the ramp, or if he had his army in front of them, I probably would need to. Then what I do is I deny a 4th base. Essentially, you deny a 4th base, and you go for the late game units. Which, if it's a mass marine Viking, it can't be battle cruiser. But if you can get rid of them, it's battle cruiser. No! Yeah, I am as always, I'm trying to do everything I need to do and not speed it up any, like, without intentionally pausing, essentially. So that means most of that APM goes into making Marines and tanks. Like, if I'm building 35 units a minute, well, that's half right there. And that's about the rate of units you build if you've maxed out that 3 base production. But the people are the ones who benefit. So I don't feel too bad. The supply block was a little rough. It was a pretty dramatic
now I have
one.
your attention.
Winter gaming is now chill.
So I think a key point, especially in TVT, is don't panic. Okay? Like, a lot of the times, like, if you get hit by a tank push, do you need to deal with it? If it's killing your mineral line, your base, or if it's on top of your production, you don't have much time. But if it's, like, outside your base, looking angrily at you, you have a little time. Especially if you know you have air control, you don't have to panic. This also goes for the other races as well. Like, obviously, Protoss and Zerg don't have tanks. But I notice a very, like, much of the value of siege tanks in the meta leagues is just their existence. Because you siege up the tanks and everybody immediately thinks those tanks need to be removed. And a lot of the time, it as soon as possible is the best time, yes. But sometimes you just can't. Like, sometimes if you wait, I don't know, for a Liberator or a Viper or a Warp Prism, that's going to be much better than fighting head-on. So, we got TVZ here against Angus Khan. And we're going to break out the McDonald's. I'm going to be going with a mech opener. I don't agree that mech is better. Honestly, this is at the higher levels as well. I prefer Bio against Protoss and against Terran. Honestly, I don't think mech is easier to play against Terran. Turtle mech will get you pretty far for the same reasons I just described, but I don't think it creates good habits to just turtle, like, to siege tanks and battle cruisers. Eventually, you'll get players who don't attack directly into them, and then it becomes less effective. But against Zerg, I do acknowledge, like, I think the way that Bio needs to be played against Zerg, it's a lot. It's hard. Even the Marine tank styles. I think mech is perfectly solid against Zerg. The only reason it's not as incredible at, like, the top tier, and even then, may I reference Maru versus Serral as the only game Serral lost to non-Zerg in the entirety of the World Championships was mech. I'm just saying, It isn't, like, there's not much that Zerg can do about it, is the summary. I'm doing cameraman Reapers now, as we move up towards Platinum, but it takes significant spellcaster control for Zerg to deal with mech in the later game, and there are no units that outright beat it in the early game, so he has a spawning pool, he has gas. Come on home. Getting my cameraman. I'm going to get one Marine afterwards. That's important. You can't just go for a reactor, because you don't have the gas, unless you go gas first, but we're not doing that. The one Marine is nice because it can help kill Overlords as well. So I can build the factory here because the add-on, for better or worse, always goes in the same spot. All right, take a look around. What do you got? SCV. Looks like he has no roach swarm. Okay. I'm still getting my second gas. I'm gonna scout. I'm patrolling the Reaper now to look for a third hatchery. We're gonna move this guy over. Put 3 in that gas. Move the factory onto the Did I do that right? Take a seat over here. Thank you.
Our command center's been upgraded.
He's taking that third hatchery now. The Reaper is going at it. Oh, he's got some speed links.
Add-on complete.
Gonna bring the Reaper back. The Hellions are finished now.
Our base is under attack.
A little bit of micro. This is actually quite annoying to deal with. I had to bring the Reaper back. He's trying to target fire the mules, which is extra annoying. Gonna use the mineral walk here.
New subscriber.
I'm gonna get myself a Banshee. And I probably could have started the third command center as well. As you know, many Terrans do favor the third command center. And we have the gas to get factories 2 and 3. So now he is a Platinum Zerg. We gotta remember this. And as a Platinum Zerg, if at some point you make Zerglings, you will continue building Zerglings. So we're just gonna, yeah. So we're gonna keep building up here. Eventually I'll have the Banshee. And the Banshee will help. I neglected to consider this. But, alright, there's the Banshee. We're gonna get an armory and an engineering bay. And that is why we built the Banshee. Get 2 tech labs here. Alright. So, even though that was annoying, that was a lot of larva of Zerglings. I should have also had these gases, though I was slightly delayed. I'm going to scan. And this was looking for a spire, essentially. You won't necessarily see it, but the big weakness of mech is a lack of built-in anti-air. You don't have Marines. So I didn't see a spire, I saw a Hydralisk Den. I can't take the risk. I'm still building turrets. I'm gonna get some more depots here. This Banshee's just going out for scouting. Gonna get another couple factories. 5, you still want 5 production facilities. Just takes a little longer. Gonna get +1 mech weapons. I'm gonna get myself a Viking. I would usually get a Viking after the first Banshee, but I was a little bit in panic mode. I'm 1 tank on the high ground here. We're not risking that same issue again. Bring some SCVs. The gases are first priority. Get a turret. Get some depots to wall off here as well. Some more tech labs. 4 tech labs and a reactor. Tech lab factories are the order of the day. I'm getting 2 Thors now. So essentially the 2 tanks are because I saw Hydros, but 2 Thors to make sure I don't get caught off guard. Oh yeah, that reminds me. Time to start Blue Flame. And we're about to get our second mech upgrade. Just gonna go and Make sure we get these gases. How many SCVs? Okay, we're queuing up. There. I'm done with SCVs. Drop mules. This SCV is stuck. Could you not? Gonna get myself a sensor tower. I'm kind of mixing in Thors. Right now I'm gonna send out a Hellion run-by-ish. This is more for scouting than for damage. Oh, looks like he got Mutas. And that's why I got the Thors, because a lot of the time you will see, especially because he knows I scanned, we're at the level where players will try to think too hard. And you can't risk it. Like I said, like he's gonna try something. And that is why I built the Thors after a couple tanks. I think 2 tanks are needed, and more if you know for sure it's like Roach Hydra. If you see Roach speed upgrading, or you know, or you're getting attacked by roaches, you need more tanks. Thors are not great in low numbers. But once you actually get like a solid 3 bases, adding in turrets, adding in Thors is the way to go. So we very likely will switch to something else now, but at this point, I'm just building. Hellions, which will be Hellbats, which we...
Upgrade complete.
Not so great in the early game, but not bad to get... They're born to die. Alright, the Hellbatmans. Give their lives so that way better units can survive. And now we're just focused on maxing out. Which you can do at a similar time. You remember the TVT game, I maxed out around 11 minutes? And with mech, it's not going to be too far off. Because mech is a little less supply efficient, I guess. Like, you have a lot of high supply, like Thors are 6 supply apiece. It's not exactly... It does take a little bit more time to ramp up the production, obviously, but... Oh. Alright, well... I'm actually going to hit that select all army key, because I'm all over the place right now. Alright. We've got a few Zerglings. These SCVs were on a shift queue from all the way over there. I'm going to rally my units to the base that isn't going to become a planetary. We're going to switch to high impact mode on the Thors. If I see as mass muta, I switch back to the splash damage mode. But let's make sure. Okay, too many SCVs here. Right click, shift 1, 2. Right click, shift 1, 2. Control F1. There you go. Lurkers. You can add a few more tanks. I would add ravens, but that's a lot of micro. So essentially, like, Thors are not terrible against lurkers. It's a numbers game, really. Like, if they have 10 lurkers, Thors ain't gonna happen. 4 lurkers, as long as you attack from a decent angle, okay. Before I attack, more command centers, more factory, starport, 3-3 start, and then 4 lurkers aren't enough. I'm gonna have to scan one more time, but make sure I don't lose vision. He has a lot of Hydras. We're gonna build more Thors, some Hellbats. Usually build them as Hellions and switch them to Hellbats with the smart servos. There's a tank back there.
That mineral cluster's mined out.
We're building some lurkers. We're actually gonna right click up to that location. and then blast them apart. The lurker eggs are even easier to kill than the lurkers. They don't have the armor.
Depleted that mineral cluster. Mineral cluster.
And there you go. Nice. $69 APM. Yeah, you can, like, Thors are not bad. I had to build the tanks, but the Thors are always a good core part of the army. You just, if the only risk is if you open up with Thors, you're vulnerable to big ground attacks. But once you get enough, a handful of tanks, then really the risk. And honestly, I hate doing this, but I really, because I don't like playing the player. But I'll be honest, it's a Platinum Zerg. If they make it past the Zergling Rush phase, it's going to be mutas into whatever else they come up with from the Prima Strategy Guide. Like, it is the trend. Both from Angry Coach we see, and from historically. Like, those are the units that they built in the campaign, so... mutas are just not... As long as you have any preparation at all, mutas are not scary. Mutas die to everything. It's just when you're completely out of position with no anti-air units. Well, that obviously not great. So. And it's not like Thors are the most maneuverable creatures either. In fact, they are some of the least maneuverable creatures. TVP. So, I said we would be mixing in. We're going to go back to the Widowmine drop build because it is something to have in the toolbox. Not a mass Widowmine or anything fancy, but the Widowmine drop is probably the staple. How does one keep playing when 1 in 5 games is a Smurf game? I mean, if you don't count me, it's not. And if you think it is, you're either having a very different experience. Like, I've been stream sniped and stream cheated, and that's still more rare than 1 in 5. So, maybe realize that. Unless I'm getting an entirely different experience, I think it is heavily overstated, though not non-existent at all, obviously. Lameo, Reynor's mutas completely destroyed Maru at IEM group stage. Did they, though? Or did they barely do enough when combined? Also, you could just say Reynor's fill in the blank, and we've moved past the realm of mattering to anyone watching this.
Oh, a follower. Is that all?
Hyper's chilling for 3 months.
Our command center's been upgraded.
Between 1 in 5 and 1 in 10 are Diamond players in my Plat 3 games. Well, the difference between Plat 3 and Diamond is less MMR than one of the Diamond leagues. There's only a there's like 400 MMR difference between Plat and Diamond, which might sound like a lot, but I'll tell you right now, at Masters, I regularly face players 700 MMR in either direction, which is a lot, especially when it's up, but that is just how it works. That's just the matchmaking system. I do think it could be a little more restrictive, but if it's only 1 in 5 that are diamond in your Plat 3, that's actually quite good. That's about right. Like 1 in 5 to 10 games are against significantly higher level opponents and the rest are not. It sounds like it's working to me. Also, if they are several hundred MMR higher and you lose, as you probably do, then you only lose like a fraction of the MMR, which is kind of the way it all works. Oh, should have taken that second gas earlier. Also, a key point is that each race MMR is independent. So even if they have a diamond border, that doesn't necessarily mean they've played much as Zerg or Protoss. They might be diamond as Terran, trying to prove that Protoss is Imba and then realizing Warp Gate isn't as easy as it looks. Still pretty easy. It makes me wish there was a bigger player base for less stratification. Yeah, that's there are 70,000 players on North America. If only 10% of them are you know what? Never mind. The matchmaking system works, and it's much better than almost all other games I've played, even if occasionally it is annoying. That's the summary. Moving on. 2 more racks. I think it's more pronounced when you're playing a 1v1 because you have nothing else to blame except for things like matchmaking. I think that's what it boils down to usually. Alright, where's my engineering bay? We kind of got sidetracked, and so did my Widow Mine drop, and there's nothing else going on to make this do damage, but remember, D-click on the medevac, and then E, E, E. I'm going to unburrow, put him back in. We're gonna go in the corner. Where's that engineering bay? Get a turret. Gonna build a reactor. Move one of these over. I don't know. He doesn't seem to have like, I'm not even sure he knows it happened at this stage.
Add-ons good to go.
Like, he hasn't counterattacked. I expected a counterattack. And he hasn't, like, tried to chase down the medevac. Well, I mean, he can't chase it down because it's hiding.
Add-on complete.
But I'm spending this time getting the rest of my tech here. Usually, if he doesn't go Stargate, you can hide in the corner of each match, and many players will just, like, try to keep stalkers back there. I'm getting a few turrets, because I'm planning on taking that third base soon. We're looking for his third as well. There's an observer right there. If he doesn't have a third, there's no reason for me to attack. Alright, we're gonna do the Patroller Lord.
Depleted that mineral cluster.
Just patrol those Marines. Get an armory for more upgrades.
Add-ons good to go.
Get at least one turret over here.
That mineral cluster.
Now we're just building the usual. Where's my Medivacs?
Add-on
Okay, we're gonna see what he's up to.
completed.
He's got a Void Ray. He's got Immortals. Okay, so I'm gonna. And more importantly, he's sitting at home. So I'm taking my third. We're gonna get a sensor tower. Get all the goodies. These depots are for units. They're chew toys, is what they are. Just instead of actually walling off, it's just so units, when they get A-clicked, they get distracted, which is surprisingly easy to do. It's especially effective against units like Immortals and Colossi. Relatively long range units need to actually be micro closer. So they'll just A-click if you're standing behind the depots and start just chewing on them. So there's something over there. I'm gonna split off a couple Marines. I still don't see a third base, unless he took that top left corner, which I haven't actually scouted. I'm gonna get the armor upgraded.
Your forces are under attack.
Okay. So that was a Void Ray. Alright then. Get some more turrets here. Get a Starport and a Ghost Academy. We're gonna do... I'm just queuing up. Let's see these. I don't... Just a Void Ray hanging out. Oh, is that Flux? He's fast. Void Ray is just that fast.
There.
I control click the Marines. Or does he have Void Ray speed? Either way, just build more Marines. More depot. No, let's see. Wait, I haven't... Whatever happened to my Marines over there? Okay. Doing a lot of Void Ray scouting. Yeah, alright. If he wants to... If that's how he wants to spend his day. No problem. Go ahead. Oh yeah, I still have that Widow Mine drop back there. I'm just gonna max out. Like I've said, like... I've gotten some questions about whether I'm gonna show like timing attacks and stuff like that. Whether that's gonna be the focus. And the summary is like 95% of the time, especially below Diamond, any sort of timing attack is a lower percentage play than just getting more ahead. Just letting them try whatever shenanigans they're gonna do and then maxing out with the highest possible supply you can have, and using that as the big advantage. Like, the exceptions are if you take a lot of damage to an attack or something, there may be this inflection point where you can get strong enough to beat what he has, but he's eventually going to be too strong and it's going to be hard to beat him. Though, that is kind of rare, unless you've literally lost, like, all your bases, so... Let's see. So we saw he had DTs, but I'm not going to bother with a Raven, because that's too much micro.
Add-ons good to go.
Gonna get ship weapons upgrades. You see this? There we go. He's gonna try more DTs. Okay, you can kill the turret. I'm just gonna stim some of these. Okay, well, that was, Alright, well, the tanks are not liking this very much, are they? That tank just gave up. It's like... Alright.
Mineral cluster.
I'm gonna go... It's a house tank now. Alright. I don't need any more mules. I got money in the bank. If I see real splash damage, well, we're gonna see what's up. Okay.
That mineral cluster's mined out.
It's Immortals. Those are the units you love to see as a Terran, because you can beat those. All of those units suck more than mine. Every single one of them. Even the Immortals. So, if he wants to sit behind his wall, then I'm okay with that. You just need to make sure to always have a scan.
Got forces under attack out there.
Oh, there's the Void Rays. Moving on. Void Ray DT.
Upgrade complete.
More DTs. The only important thing is to have those scans. Everything else, like, who cares about the Void Rays? Like,
Oh, a follower.
it's not flashy, it's not that exciting,
CZ's
but
media
it's
family
just
is
letting
showing for
him
5
get
months.
himself into a terrible spot. No, that was a Protoss who has relied on the existential dread. Actually, is that a perfect example there? I am pretty sure. Yeah. That is a Terran player who's had a bad time, who is now playing Protoss. Yeah, he did not succeed with the Terran. He's like, I hate this unit and that unit, because my turrets don't counter his units. They just see them and then die. So he's like, you know what? You kill the turrets, you win the game. When I go mass turret, it doesn't work. But when I go... So, it's a lot of players literally like Dark Templar. Dark Templar. Need I say more? Okay. Need I say more? The Void Rays are kind of the fill-in-the-blank unit for a lot of Protoss. As if you've ever watched Angry Coach, you know Protoss are more like, it's like a build order stew, where eventually they just keep throwing things in the stew, with no particular order or focus. But eventually you get some pretty consistent things. Usually it's a Void Ray, and then, I don't know, Carrier. Void Rays are a pretty regular part of the stew. Past that, it's a little hard to stereotype. Void Rays are Stalkers are common, but Stalkers are also somewhat practical. Like, there is sometimes a reason to build them in the early game, so it's hard to tell whether that's like, I have nothing else, or an actual intentional thing. Because a lot of players will just build the Stalkers, which is good for you, Terrans, by the way. Alright, sending the SCV out as well. Remember what we're looking for. We're looking for, how many gas? Does he have a barracks? That's about it. Does he have more than one barracks? Just that, okay, we'll just go with the general amount of barracks in his base is the relevant part. That's it. Otherwise, it's, nothing too important.
Oh, good.
Thank you, Jet Plane.
Now I have your attention.
Empty jet plane is chilling for 9 months. And try love and tripe.
Okay, I'm seeing a grand total of 0 barracks in his base right now. So there are 2 options. Option 1, he's AFK. Option 2, he's proxy raxing and playing like he's AFK. Which would be a very big brain move. So, I've seen it before, where you just pretend, like you build 2 extra SCVs, and then you send 2 SCVs out, so you still have 12, and then you just let them kill all your workers, and they start like bringing all their SCVs, and then like 8 Marines show up at your base. I don't think it's it, but I'm not taking any chances. But yeah, there are ways. That's definitely one of the more amusing troll builds. Because the sheer amount of time it takes for an SCV to kill the workers means you're still mining enough for Marine.
Now I have your
Thank you,
attention.
Royal.
Royal_Wolf88 is now chilling.
Go get him, Billy. All right.
Add-on complete.
There's a lot of manual labor. Okay. 3 hours later, we're sending the boys. So, we can actually get a taste of the questions while the boys are on their journey to support Billy. We'll jump into a few of the questions. So, first is from Next Door Matt. To anyone wondering if they're too old to play competitively, I started playing when I was almost 35. He does not mention how old he is now. Oh, yes, he does. I can't read. What a zoomer. With basically no competitive gaming experience. 7 years later, I still have fun. Sometimes. In mid-diamond. Yes. I do. Everybody, the sometimes, that's how you know it's legit. Okay? Because the sometimes seals the deal. If he just said he had fun, that would have been a lie. That's what a lie would look like. But I do truly think, like, I mean, that's kind of the point of this series. I refuse to believe that that most people, I acknowledge that some people have physical issues. I refuse to believe that at the age of 40, people can't pull off 100 APM. Because that's depressing for me, and also, like, it might be a little harder, but I don't think you're literally at the point where your hands just don't work anymore. Are you telling me you can't type on a keyboard? Come on. Like, now, it's not going to be as easy as those damn Zoomers, but and there's a reason why still many of the most competitive players are younger. But especially nowadays, I don't think it is. I think the issue before was less that a physical issue, and more it's just not a thing people did, right? In the before times. Like, only after the plague spread did I really stop getting many questions about what am I going to do? Because now, like, family members and less technologically adept people that I occasionally interact with, usually begrudgingly, no longer ask when I say I work online. They no longer ask, what are you going to do afterwards? To which I think means they had to figure out what Zoom is. Though I also, at no point, of course, offered to help them with any of their computer issues, and I don't acknowledge that I have any, because we're not going that far. Okay, no. Because that's a can of worms that nobody wants to open. But my point generally is that the reason there aren't older pro gamers, like, I guess you could use your Tom Brady as an example, is because they're literally, the profession, such as it is, has not existed in its mainstream form for long enough for that to be much of a thing. Though, there are literally, though I don't know how many now, there have been Counter-Strike players well into their 30s, still competitive. It is just a lack of support infrastructure, not necessarily a lack of capability. So, don't be intimidated. That's not an excuse. All right? No more like, oh, my hands don't work. I've worked for 12 years doing data entry, and I have carpal tunnel in every single one of my fingers. It's like, I don't think that's how carpal tunnel works. Though maybe. And 2, bullshit. I don't know. And 3, there's always Protoss. There it is. I got one for you, Terrence.
Our command center's been upgraded.
Get out of there. Go get him, Reaper. Okay, so I didn't SCV scout. I was too busy ranting. We have many more questions during the break, which I plan on when we get to... The goal for tonight will be to get to Platinum. I'm gonna do the comments and questions. Then we'll probably play a few more. Probably not all the way to Plat 2, though. It isn't too far of a jump. And then we'll wrap it up. Make it sound quick and easy, even though we're 90 minutes in already. You've already watched a feature-length... Well, nowadays, movies are like 2.5 hours. Respect my time, okay? I have 4-hour-long, 8-part YouTube series to make. I can't be watching 2.5 hours of your damn superhero movie that's the same as the other ones. Come on. It's like, oh, who's the villain? It's Dark Butterfly, okay? To counter Butterfree. Wait a second, that's copyright infringement. You get it, though. It's like, who's the counter to Iron Man? It's Steel Man. I don't know. All right. About as much cliche plot development as StarCraft 2. It's like, why is Steel Man bad? Oh, because technically we murdered his wife and children, and now he hates us. It's like, well, that seems like a legitimate... No, he's bad! I don't know.
Add-ons, good to go.
Moving on. Anyway, Cyclone. Manx did nothing wrong. Well, he did murder a planet, but otherwise... Oh, yeah, actually he did a lot. Never mind, I rescind that statement. Manx... Yeah. But besides murdering a planet... So, I sent these across because he wasn't doing anything, so... What about what he did to Kerrigan? Yeah, but, like, everybody gets a free pass. Like, one free pass. Alright. Oh, the Protoss are definitely the Protoss. Let's not get started on the Protoss. Okay, the Protoss are definitely the worst. By far. Alright. All those hoity-toity Protosses. They're like, let's murder an entire planet to solve this problem. It's like, well, now you... Like, at least the Zerg have a scapegoat. Didn't Kerrigan murder Manx's family? Was that before or after, though? Anyways.
Good to go. Add-on complete.
On the bright side, thankfully Zeratul incepted his way into saving the universe. If Zeratul had looked through the vision of Tassadar, who had looked through the vision of the Overmind, who looked through the vision of, like, Amon, if he hadn't done that, then we all would have been screwed, so. I'm just saying. Thanks, Zeratul. Also, rest in peace. But Tassadar was dead. Yeah, but that doesn't mean his psychic imprint. So was the Overmind. So, I'm just saying. And also, what is dead when you just get, like, warped in? What does it even mean? Alright. That's a lot of stuff. He's pretty, he's got a lot of stuff there. It's pretty scary. I'm gonna go ahead and get a tank. I have this tank here. Queue up some more tanks. Barracks 4 and 5.
That mineral cluster. Upgrade complete. Upgrade complete.
He has no upgrade. That's pretty much all we got going for us here. I get the upgrades. 2-2.
Your forces are under attack.
I want to take my next base, but I also don't want to get super murdered by his huge army. Important. Yes, that one. That's the army we're talking about. Anti-armor missile. Run away! Ah! That's a mess.
Research complete. Our command center's been upgraded.
As we suspected. I'm gonna get myself a Liberator here. Because I should still have air control. Try to siege up. I don't know if that's in range or not. It is. How convenient. But this is when we're on the edge of panic. Let's see.
Got forces under attack out there.
Siege up this tank on the high ground. I'm still building SCVs here. I'm gonna use the interference matrix.
That mineral cluster's mined out.
Oh, a follower.
Repair.
Is that all?
The disco show is chilling for 57
Upgrade
months.
complete.
Alright. So this was a bit optimistic from him.
Your forces are under attack. Got forces under attack out there. That mineral cluster's mined out. Upgrade complete.
We're gonna make some reactors. A lot of players, and now this is one of the most... So this game is demonstrating why I say it's a higher percentage play not to attack until you're maxed out, except under very specific circumstances. So he was in a pretty good spot. He could have taken his third. I mean, we'll check if he has the other one. And he could have taken map control, because he had a larger army because he didn't get as many upgrades. But he just kind of attacked. And now he doesn't have a larger army. Because it is, especially against siege tanks, a lot harder to attack than to defend. So, here we are.
Your forces are under attack.
Let's check those upgrades. +1. How many SCVs? 69. Pretty nice. If I was him, and I was trying to be a sneaky boy, I would come around that left side and try to hit an angle that isn't covered by the sensor tower. That's also part of the bonus of the sensor tower, is that a lot of players will just try to desperately avoid it. Let's run away here. Get the Vikings. More siege tanks, more medevacs. Don't we have a liberator somewhere? Oh yeah, here we go. See, loading up a drop. Is that intentional? Unclear. Get some depots. And as you can see, all he wanted to do was attack. So we just let him do that. Ah! Overdid it. A little bit micro-intensive. He played well for a gold. Wasn't gold, and no, he didn't. He built a big army. I guess he got that far, but then he decided to waste it by attacking into a defensive position. When you have a larger army, you have to consider whether you can actually attack or just use it to take more bases and deny theirs. And in this case,
Good. Now I have your attention.
with a larger army, especially in
One of the enemies
TVT,
is now chilling.
your best chance is to... No, that was a gift, but whatever. Your best chance is to take your third and keep them from getting their third. That's the first step. And then usually it's a fourth base later on. But a lot of the times you'll find players who... a third base, like we're still at the range that just taking a third base already puts you in the minority, at least in a timely manner. Which is why we started out at the lower levels really focusing on getting that third base in a timely manner, because just getting used to having it will continue to carry you. Like we're building habits that will continue to carry you through
Beetle is chilling for
through
1
gold,
month.
through plat, through diamond. Of course, you're adding a lot on top of them, but these are all things you do at those levels as well. Thank you, Battle. Has a vintage name. GSL 2012. Yeah, he got there. No, all right. Okay, here's a good. If you don't know what to say and you just want to move on with your life, give him the business. Classic. I mean, it's not a response, but it's not a response. I don't even know. It's like a cactus with sunglasses. I don't know why, but it is.
Your forces are under attack.
Oh, the probe is chasing my SCV, but we're gonna send another SCV down
Follower.
to deal with that probe. No
Meat
probes
raises chilling for
allowed.
3 months.
We don't like probes around here. Does anybody like probes around anywhere? Let's be honest with ourselves. Gonna scout. Get the expansion. These chrono boosting probes. But, you know about those second pylons. Shoot the probe in the head face. Boom. There it goes. Vengeance. Now I'm looking for a second. He does not have a second pylon. I don't think he proxied. I think he just forgot. That's a Twilight Council. He's not building anything out of his gateways. I'm gonna scout with the Marine, just in case. And we're gonna hide in the corner, and I'm gonna come back in, and we're gonna see if he has a Dark Shrine or something in his base. Also gonna get a bunker, because you don't really need a bunker till... I mean, you don't always need a bunker if you're going Reactor Marine at all. But usually by about 3 minutes, which if they're not building a Zealot, that's when an Adept can come out. We'll have to see, though. 3 out of 3 in gas. I'm going to wait a little longer till that Twilight is likely to be done.
Our command center's been upgraded.
This Marine, go to the Watchtower. Tech Lab. Well, okay.
Your forces are under attack.
Well, looks like he had a second pylon. Oh no, the probe kills it.
Add-on complete.
We're gonna get a Viking as well. 5 Marines are enough to kill an Oracle, but I don't have 5 Marines for both sides of the base. A Cyclone is also quite good. I'm gonna send these guys back over here. Since I'm gonna have the Cyclone, I'm just gonna send the Marines out. Was this Twilight Council for show? Was that why it's here? No, he built it. Now we look for the Dark Shrine. He has more gates. Okay. Barracks. And an expansion. So he's kind of just getting everything else now. So... we'll let him do that. +1.
Our base is under attack.
What do you mean our base? Oh. SCV. That got all that valuable scouting. He still has the 3 HP Oracle out there right now, but I can line up.
Under attack out there.
Oh. Oracle died. Alright. Come on home. Get out of there. Third command center. So, I am suspicious of like a big charge lot warping or something. Also, we should have gotten more depots. The Cyclone can patrol the edge of the base now. Oh my god. Build depots! Game is hard. Who doesn't love supply chain management?
Your forces are under attack.
What is this? He may... Well, I have a third command center on the way. So, I gotta remember that. I am not in a position where I need to do any sort of big attack. Especially against mass gateway units, which are pretty easy to kill. The big threat would be if he has a way better economy than me. Which I don't think is the case. Some more medevacs. Some more supply block.
Our command center's been upgraded. Looks like that research is done.
Alright, let's see. Whoop.
Research complete.
I'm gonna scan for the other base. And it's like a third. So,
Mineral cluster
get
depleted.
barracks 4 and 5.
That mineral cluster's mined out.
Gonna send a Marine out in front. Cancel that SCV to move the command center over and set up the camera location. Control F1. Gonna get a sensor tower, bunker, and then chew toys. On top of that, we're getting the armory for upgrades.
Ding! Research complete.
As well as that second engineering bay.
Depleted that mineral cluster.
And Ghost Academy.
Upgrade complete.
So right now, the biggest threats are, as always, this is just a continued and always threat, is a Warp Prism in the main. So that's why I have some turrets set up. So I have the Cyclone patrolling. I have a Viking on the other side for the natural. Can start the 2-2.
Add-ons good to go. Add-on complete.
How many SCVs? Oh, we gotta drop some mules here too. I don't have any turrets at this base, which is important. A lot of players will try those DTs. Or Prism. Let's just make sure. I cannot... at this, you cannot let a War Prism in your base. That's the summary. That has ended many games in the past. Oh, an Observer. That's another reason to build it. I'm going to get a couple Ghosts here. Ghosts are always good against Protons. It's just sometimes you need them more than others. Like, they're not as great
Use
against
of slider
Disruptors and
detected.
Colossi.
Their use is chilling for 4 months.
But they are pretty good against Templar charge lots. Like, since everything Protoss has shields or energy. Like, you can't go wrong with Ghosts, is the summary. Control 3. I'm getting the enhanced shockwaves upgrade, so I have to aim even less. Let's take a look. His upgrades, 0-0. So what that means to me is that my army is better as long as I don't get everything stormed. Control Shift 1. So the best way to exploit this position from him, well, I'm going to scan for observers,
Looks like that research
because
is
sensor
done.
towers don't have detection. This is the time to drop. What is the intent of the drop? It's to make him decide what he wants to do.
Complete.
Does he want to attack or defend?
Upgrade complete.
because he probably won't do both very well. This was smart. We're going to drop at the watchtower.
Your forces are under attack. Upgrade complete.
We're going to run all the way away because you can see that whole army move in there. Gonna make sure I have vision. Heading for the main here. Actually, I can't send the whole army.
Mineral clusters mined out.
But
Got forces under attack out there.
he used feedback. You know, at this, okay. If you're just gonna sit all the way over there. Looks like he dealt with the medevacs. This was actually quite a sloppy move from me.
Your forces are under attack. Depleted that mineral cluster.
There's the army. It got the intended effect, which was to force him to decide whether he's attacking. But it was not the ideal way to do it. All right. Well, EMPs for everyone. A bit of panic, but with no shields and no storm. I think a Colossus showed up, but the Terran units are just insanely much better. It is a little obscene how much more cost-effective Terran can be. As long as the EMP lands. Remove the ghosts. Put the ghosts on control 3. Adding more production, starport, and racks. We need that liberator count to go up as well. But the ghosts are the most important. I made sure to get the EMPs even if the rest of the fight went kind of badly. Scan for army. I don't see any army. There it is.
Mineral cluster depleted.
Okay, move those ghosts back. He's got a lot of Archons. He does not have that base.
Got forces under attack.
We're gonna bring the reinforcements in here. He's trying to cut me off. That's why we're continually scanning. It's looking pretty dangerous. EMP, 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 EMP.
Depleted that mineral cluster.
Target fired the tank, but should probably get cloaked for the ghost.
That mineral cluster's mined out.
I'm gonna get a fusion core. No, it's for liberator range. So pretty much you have to scan. I'm not saying it's easy. That is the hardest part of the game for Terran, because you have to have the ghosts in position to EMP. But if you do, it goes, well... We're still below. Ruined. Even the platinum, which that was
New subscriber
failure.
detected.
Staring as polite as chilling for 1 month.
That's definitely a way to phrase things. Plats have 86. Well, this one did. My opponent was at 117. He was quite like, he was making good moves. Honestly, against Ghosts for Protons, there is no counter. It's just that the Ghosts are very clunky to use and fragile. So the counter is simply that it's very unlikely that Terrans, even at the higher levels, are going to always have EMP ready, essentially. That is... And at the same time, like, a lot of units aren't as effective. Like, Zealots only have 50 shields. Immortals... Well, actually, Immortals... Yeah, EMP is very good. It is very good.
Wonder Gaming has gifted 2 subs to viewers.
Does Immortals passive work versus Snipe?
Shma1 just donated $5. I am downloading that.
You
for
can only
positioning.
snipe biological units, of which Immortals are not. Can you rapid fire EMPs? You can rapid fire anything. Is an Archon not one of the worst options against Ghosts? It is not. As we're moving into the quick break and questions and the YouTube comments, all that, because EMP only wipes out 100 shields and energy. So even if you land an EMP, the Archons still have a significant amount of effectiveness. Like, they're not great, especially against Mass Ghost, but you don't wipe out the entire Archon with 1 EMP. So 3 EMPs pretty much wipe them out, yes. Like, the most effective... So what have we gotten to? So we're now in Platinum, which means we'll be doing, as you saw last game, how effective it could be to do any amount of drops, as well as late game army and control. I think we covered a little bit of that. Advanced benchmarks are going to include when to be getting those Ghosts and Liberators, when to focus on having enough SCVs, when to be getting an armory, if ever, because apparently Pro Terrans have just given up on that. But, yeah. But first, before anything else, the people's questions. And no, not you people, Twitch chat, though. We'll be taking those later. YouTube. We actually spent a lot of time going over Next Door Matt's question. These are the questions from the last episode of the Terran Low APM Challenge. And thank you for all your comments and questions. We couldn't have all of them. Jimmy didn't approve all of them. Take it up with him. But we did talk about how just because you're old and decrepit is no excuse for not getting to Diamond. According to Next Door Matt. His words, not mine. Noah comes up with a top-level strat. Previous episodes, SCVs can repair units and medevacs. Could Hellbat pushes utilize SCVs and medevacs to heal them? The medevacs also heal the Hellbats. So, they could. But Hellbat pushes are not very good. And also, no amount of fancy SCVs in your medevacs micro is going to change that. But thank you, Noah. Technically, yes. I mean, yes. Technically, yes. Dr. Yuke comes in. I don't know why people think it's so hard to balance the game. Easy. Just remove Marines, Marauders, Ghosts, and Battlecruisers, and it should be fine. GLHF. GLHF. Thank you, Doctor. It'd be nice if this was labeled Part 2. Well, if all of them were labeled in parts. I wanted to address this because while the Part 2 is in the description and they're in order in the playlist, essentially, YouTube does not reward you for doing series. If you look at the last Low APM challenge from a couple years ago, the first few episodes have hundreds of thousands of views. And by the time you get to episode 6 or 7, we're down to a fraction of that. And I think it makes sense. Does anyone start a TV show at episode 7? And don't give me niche examples, you know what I mean. So I've learned, and generally YouTube knows, that new people are not going to jump in on episode 7. I don't think necessarily you need to start this series at any particular episode either. Thus the clickbait titles for each one. But if you are interested, it is easy enough to go to the playlist or just check the description in case you're not sure which one you're on. What are your thoughts on 3rd CC before Starport? Generally on greed and low levels. The summary on 3rd CC before Starport is, we're going to call low levels the Metal Leagues, essentially up to Diamond. Not worth it. Why? Because one of the major issues Terrans have before Diamond is just not building a starport. Like, the amount of Bronze League heroes that we've challenged to build a star... So there are two options. One, it's a battlecruiser rush. Two, we just kind of forget a starport exists for 7 minutes. I think it's very important to get used to doing the 1-1-1. Then you can add a 3rd command center on, but there's no way your build is toit enough to be doing like a 3cc before starport. We're just not there yet. It's just simply not worth the effort and the vulnerability. Having 200 APM... Okay, so Smoke comes in. Big Smoke. Having 200 APM spikes to do things that matter and then idling at 0 APM to average a low overall is the most BS way to go about it. That's not how low APM players work. Placing some sort of inhibitor at 60 APM or whatever you're going for is the only legit way to do this. That is not true. So the only exception to this rule is if for players who don't use a keyboard. The basic requirements for this series, I should have said at the start, is to have a mouse and a keyboard. The only way you won't, even if you're in Bronze League, spike up over 200 APM is if you're using only your mouse or a controller. Because a lot of the time, these spikes are simply just holding down the key to make Marines, make Zerglings, even to just make SCVs. Because it'll instantaneously spike. Like if you measured over a second of building 10 SCVs, you built 10 in a second. Do you have 600 or wait, not, okay, 10 times 60. 600 APM overall? No. So simply sitting there and pretending like I don't know how to hold down the Marine key on my keyboard, I think is not really fitting with the theme of the series. That would be more like a literally never doing more than this. But I think... And I do acknowledge there are definitely some times where I'm probably rotating through my production or my control groups a little faster than your low-level players. Or a lot faster. But low-level players who are using a keyboard will always have spikes over 60 APM. That's just how it works. And usually the low... So, as for the idling at 0 APM at the end of the game, I do admit to that. And that is partially because players don't leave the game when they've lost. It's actually getting harder as we move up the levels because people are leaving in a timely manner. So I am less able to abuse that, and it's becoming harder. So I'll give you that one. I don't fall asleep to it. My cat does. Shout out to Art's cat. Hi, Bionic Shiba. So this is in response to a comment I made. So I commented that light units in Age of Empires, or how in Age of Empires, archers do more damage to spearmen because all of them in all their wisdom, they do damage to spears. And I was referencing in all their wisdom the Age of Empires 4 developers saying that when an archer gets stabbed in the face with a spear, the archer should still win that fight. I don't know if the damage is just for light melee units, which are only spears, by the way, but I was referencing the infinite wisdom of the Age of Empires 4 devs when they said, well, just because you micro a unit that is a melee unit and close the distance on ranged units doesn't mean the melee unit should win. So I apologize for misspeaking and misrepresenting the former StarCraft 2 Pro retirement fund, Age of Empires 4. I would like to correct that statement. So, was happening 32 with quite a good question. How would you recommend teaching someone, a girlfriend, for example, quite an example, who doesn't like watching a 3-hour-long YouTube video? Who watches 3-hour-long YouTube videos? No offense, she ain't just going to sit through that. I know. I've played a few AI games. It's mostly just beating the hard AI 2v1, with her just base building and maybe having 50 units at 11 minutes. I've told her a build, given her some tips. She isn't really enjoying it as much as I did when I'm learning the game. Any tips on this? 1, your girlfriend is a fucking casual. And that's okay. Most people are. And you know what fucking casuals love? Co-op. Alright? You're playing against the AI? Maybe try co-op. You got all these fancy abilities. It's designed around having these OP and fun units. And, I mean, you can try out probably Kerrigan would be fun for free because you get an actual hero unit, which might be more in line with the games people are more used to playing. So I recommend some co-op. And, I mean, not a lot of people are huge on playing. I mean, none of the people watching this are making dumb comments in Twitch chat instead of actually answering the question, which is some people aren't built for it. And some people need to learn. But co-op is the way to go. Or, if you want to ruin your relationship, I suggest Archon mode. Enjoy. I find it, so Andreas says, I find it impossible to memorize the initial steps of a build. Sounds so reasonable that understanding the basic ideas is what is important, but when you miss one of the steps, everything falls apart. So this is partially why I try to tie multiple benchmarks in. This is a good point. This is part of why the whole series is supposed to build on certain things. Like, we start out with the most basic of builds, and then we add in using other types of units. But I do think, and I recommend spawningtool.com, you'll get... I don't think you should look at Hero Marine's entire 150 supply. Just look at the first 30 supply. Because there is, especially for Terran, like I'll tell you right now, it's 14 supply depots, 16 barracks, 17 refinery. Any gaps in this are SCVs, by the way. At 19, you build a Marine. At 20 is an orbital. 22, you get... 20 is also command center, because at this point, you're no longer building anything else but that first Marine. So, then you got a reactor, also at 20. A supply depot at 22, a factory at 23. Another gas geyser at 25. And you're filling in Marines and SCVs now. And then by that point, you can kind of just go by SCV count. This is why I don't like exact supply, because you might miss an SCV, you might miss a Marine, or you might lose an SCV. So part of what I'm trying to show people is, once you get to this approximate SCV count, like you get 30 SCVs, you should have your 111 and build 2 more barracks. You get to 40, 2 more gas. Stuff like that. But a lot of this comes with time. I lost about 75 of my first 100 games. If you're like, I've played 6 games and I can't remember a build order, well, tough shit. So, if you played 60 and you still can't remember a build order, well, you might need to try another method. So. And then, random YouTube account comments, coaches, immediate supply block. I admit to that. I'm in this picture, and I don't like it. Thank you for your questions and comments. Illustrious as always. And with that, we're going to head out for probably 3 or 4 more games, and then probably a fun wrap out. And well, we'll see how close that gets to platinum too, but don't encourage him. But glad to see people enjoying, and thank you. Some quite good questions as well. Some very solid ones and comments. If your question or comment was not there, that doesn't mean it was bad. It just means Jimmy hates you. And also, there are way too many comments to go over. Otherwise, we just have to make a whole video of just that. Anyways. We've already got a build for this. Also, we're going to be scouting early. I'm prickly and cool. Yeah, there you go. It's a nice ambiguous response for the people who think they're on Facebook Messenger. It's like, who are you and why are you talking to me?
Oh, good.
Bear Master.
Now I have your attention.
Beermaster 66 is chilling for 5 months. Going through rough times ATM. Thank you for your content. Always having a great time here.
You know, I really
not
hope he
always
doesn't cheese, so that way we can still pretend like there are decent people on the internet. It is a 1 Rex expand. Like, yeah, okay. It's just standard. He got the Rex, he got the expand before the Reaper, if he's even building one. You know what? All right. This milk has yet to become cheese. And that fills me with determination. Like, Winter, everything you said was wrong. You know what? Let me have this. There's the Reaper, but we have 2 Reapers, which is more. Alright, we're in Platinum now. I will be attacking with 2 Reapers and my first Hellion. Or 3 Reapers. 3 Reapers! And my first Hellion. We're moving up in the world. We're microing and... well, we're microing a little. Like, remember in the lesson plan, multitasking. Very much in quotes. Because in order to get... before everybody gets pedantic, Multitasking is just setting yourself up to easily rotate between several separate tasks nearly simultaneously. So here essentially, get this gas, reactor, tech lab, queue up a couple SCVs, and then we see what he has. I'm building SCVs during this. Get a tech lab here.
Add-ons good to go.
I'm going to put into gas, build. I'm still using my eyes on the minimap right now.
Your forces are under attack.
We'll drop the grenades here.
Add-on complete.
I'm just gonna target fire these down here. That's good to know. We'll get a Raven. And now, those 2 extra wrecks. So I'm way ahead economically. The risk is that he just comes across the map with a bunch of Marines. So, need more depots. I'm not really afraid of anything else. I'm gonna put a depot on the corner as well. Gonna queue up a second engineering bay. I siege up the tank at the front. Another tank can go in the main momentarily. Start +1. I'm gonna flip this over here. I'm gonna move a Marine just so I have potentially a little bit of warning. Start stim. Couple Vikings. Rally to Raven. 3 in gas. And 50 SCVs. I should have already started my third. 6 minutes is the absolute latest. These are anti-drop turrets. I'm now going to patrol that Cyclone as well.
Good to go.
After you have some tanks, the Cyclone is mostly your multi-purpose. I don't know what I'm up against, but I might need anti-air kind of option. It's not like a big part of your army. More supply. Another tank. It looks like something out there. Sending out a Marine. A medevac is usually a bit sus. He didn't see the tank. I'm gonna drop some auto turrets here. Remember when I said your best bet is to just let your opponent attack? Oh, there you go. A lot of players are convinced they need to find the right timing. And it is important to understand like what a timing is. A good timing is usually, for example, when you have Stim, Combat Shield +1, or at least 2 out of 3, which he may have had that. Like, I didn't check if he had the upgrades, but he had Stim and Combat Shield. So it wasn't a bad timing, it was just, if he has 2 bases, and you have 2 bases, he should have a similar amount of units in a defensive position. And if you're not Maru, and almost nobody is, it's gonna be hard to break that.
Upgrade complete.
Get those medevacs.
Mineral cluster depleted.
More combat shield. I'm getting that sensor tower, +2, +2. And that +1 mech is coming in next. I'm gonna start using the spotter depots. 100 minerals for a guarantee I'll have time to react is a bargain, in my opinion. Like, yeah, you might lose the depots, so be careful about that, but
Add-on complete.
honestly,
Completed that mineral cluster.
I think more... I've seen some higher level players doing stuff like this. Pylons have always been one of those. I think Terrans are always reluctant to send workers out. Zergs have creep, so like that kind of covers it. It is one of the benefits. But Terran players with spotter depots is definitely
Forces are under
not
attack.
unheard of. I'm gonna get another factory and barracks. We're going up 75
That
SCVs
mineral
or so.
cluster's mined out.
I'm just gonna siege up one tank. We'll have
Mineral
one
cluster
at home.
That mineral
Another
cluster's
tank.
mined out.
How many medevacs? Looking pretty good. I'm gonna take these. I'm gonna mine through this area here as well. Get a fourth. Why not on location?
Mineral cluster depleted.
Alright, let's try some of that good old-fashioned multitasking I was talking about. So, control 2 on these medevacs, and I'm just gonna put them
Cluster.
and queue them up to drop in that other location.
Our base is under attack.
So here's I'm gonna scan the main, and we're gonna see. Oh, great mans think greatly alike.
Mineral cluster depleted.
So we finished 2-2,
Mined out.
starting 3-3. He's got a fourth base, so I should move out right now. Because he's probably moving to deal with this.
Got forces under attack out there.
And this is all multitasking. I set it up so he looks one way while I move the other. And there you go. Like, it is hard. So think about it. What is happening from his perspective? He sees a drop, but he doesn't see the army. I knew where his army was because I took the initiative there. So I had more time to set up that attack than he had to react to it. So it's not necessarily like he failed horribly or anything. It's just, if you set it up and, like, for example, I'm not microing the drop. That's the difference here. Is the drop forces a certain response, so I don't even have to worry about it. I could lose all 20 supply of it. And if it drags him out of position like that, it's a win. We failed, but GG milk. But I think that is about as much multitasking as you'll ever see up until solidly masters. Yes, it might be a little quicker or cleaner than what we just did, but it's not so much about playing faster, it's just about
Good.
kind of splitting
have your
your
attention.
priorities.
Winter Gaming is now chilling.
And now we need to be focusing on more maxing out. I definitely could have maxed out quicker. 11 minutes is good. 10 minutes is completely plausible. It is getting closer to, like, if you can max out in 10 minutes with 2-2 either finished or on the way, that is master level. Like, maybe your execution isn't, but you've now got the baseline, the foundation. Like, at that point, if you can consistently max out with +2 and 3 bases around 10 minutes, you can now focus on microing. I give you permission. Thing is, even I struggle with quite that timing, especially if anything else is going on. Like, you can technically max out with that in about 9 minutes, a little under. But no plan survives contact with ineptitude. And occasionally the enemy. I think I just saw an Overlord. Not sure. I am going to start. We're starting to get those matchup-specific builds added in. If you forget what matchup you're in, or you do another matchups build, that isn't the end of the world. But ideally, you do have a slightly different opener. Like against Zerg, you want the Reactored Hellions. Against Terran, you want the Reapers. Against Protoss, honestly, you can kind of do any of the above, though I prefer just Reactored Marine, because that way you have the baseline of units to defend early. And it doesn't preclude going for like a Widowmine drop. It doesn't stop you from going for a big barracks play if you'd like. Stuff like that. It's just kind of the catch-all is Reactor Marine. It's also the only matchup I think you can't do like one Reaper Reactor Marine is TVT, because simply Reapers are too good. And if they have a Reaper and you don't, it's very bad. Because no other race has units that can circumvent your wall. That's part of it. Protoss, even though Adept Shades are annoying, they cannot. Alright. We're checking for the third. We're going to hang out here. So here's your timing. Zergling speed, if they're on time, finishes around 330 to 340. So your very last chance to check his base safely is around 320 with your average Zergling speed timing. Whoa. Oh, he has this third. I kind of forgot that he could do that. I'll be honest. I did forget that that's a base he could take. We're just going to do the shift click around. Even if I lose it, that's okay. Gonna get the starport. We're going to get a third command center now. So I've pretty much scouted all his creep. I'm building Hellions. So we can only build a Roach Warren on creep. Okay? This is important. What I'm scared of, potentially, is a Roach Warren. That's pretty much it at this stage of the game. So if he doesn't have that, I'm pretty much good to go. There are the Zerglings. I'm gonna wait till at least 4 to move out. I'm not gonna bother trying to get on the edge of the creep. I am building the Hellions. Like, we're not doing a siege tank turtle build. There's no reason. But I am going to wait until I am walled off. I'm just going to get the NG Bay there. No reason to show him I'm going mech quite yet. Get the gases. Alright, 4 Hellions, go. And everybody else hide. I'm going to build a tech lab there, but that's going to be used for another factory. Yep. The Hellions, I guess. Oh. Hold position.
Add-ons good to go.
I'll move that. We're gonna get a Viking,
Been upgraded.
a Banshee. The Banshee is essentially like building a Void Ray for Protoss. It's for taking your third and not having to worry about ground units there. I'm getting a Viking to clear out his scouting as well. I'm moving all these around. And I should have already built my armories, but we're gonna get a couple tanks. Looks like he had a bunch of Zerglings. So that's the benefit of what I did with the Hellions, is he built a bunch more lings, so. A lair. I hate doing this, but I am gonna scan the natural as well. Because I need to know if he's rushing Mutas. We need a Chew Toy Depot here. He's got roaches upgrading, so I'm gonna get another round of siege tanks. This Viking, I'm just gonna shift click in like a Z formation all over the minimap. So it will eventually, hopefully, catch everything that comes through it. Let's get that blue flame. Yeah, if you look at the Viking patrol pathing there. 4 tech labs, 1 reactor. I'm going to get a Thor because if I don't have one, oh, changeling. And remember, even if I saw roaches, that doesn't mean it isn't necessarily going to be Mutas.
Add-ons good to go.
I'm gonna send the Hellions to the watchtowers here. We're gonna get depots.
Forces are under attack.
Run away.
Forces under attack out there.
More depots. The depots for walling and just because I need to build depots. Sensor tower. Another command center.
Research complete.
Queue up the SCVs. And then, I mean, we're almost on 80 now.
Mineral
Which
cluster
is,
depleted.
does he have a hive? There's a spire. He has an infestation pit. He started the hive. Hive takes a minute and a half about. Maybe a little under. And then anything from a hive. So this is where you could find a timing. I got 1-1 done. I got a bunch finishing. I'm going to check for another base. I have enough Thors here. But I now have the information to do a timing attack. He's taking another base. And we see a bunch of roaches. But I'm gonna have some SCVs auto repair. And I'm not stopping production or anything during all this. It is just to make sure he doesn't get to hive without feeling under pressure here.
Depleted that mineral cluster.
Gonna have those tanks. Nice and spread. Take another base. I like So usually, especially with mech, you want to expand forward because you have some of the slowest units. You don't want to be moving them a bunch because obviously they're not the most maneuverable. Is a nice way to put it, I guess. Hellbat time. If I drop under probably like 120 supply, I definitely want to sit back and regroup here. But I've successfully put on a lot of pressure, and if he doesn't have that other base, then I'm in a pretty good spot because I have a 4th and I'm hitting his 4th. So this is what you do when you have a larger army or better tech. You deny his most exposed base. You don't go for the kill, but it's essentially a longer version of it.
Your forces are under attack. Command center's been upgraded.
We're gonna get +3. I have the money here. We'll get command centers. Control click for Hellbat mode. Making sure I'm always producing.
Depleted that mineral. Upgrade.
Notice how he doesn't have any hive tech units? That's what we were going for.
Got forces under attack out there. Mineral cluster depleted.
The entire timing of this attack was to pressure him as he wanted to invest in hive tech, which is expensive.
That mineral cluster's mine.
What do we have here? Some lurkers. Let's target, shift, right click, get rid of the creep tumors here. Another solid thing is just sieging up a Liberator. Not even trying to micro it, just sieging it up where you know spore crawlers are not currently burrowed. Anything to get them to focus anywhere else, essentially.
Your forces are under attack.
Orbitals. Not that this push is not going well. Like I mentioned during the YouTube comments section, I no longer can rely on players spending 5 minutes in a lost game to lower my APM. I have to... It's actually keeping me more honest as we go up the ranks here. Because players leave pretty much at the moment they've lost. And until I wiped out his army and made it so I could attack into his natural, I would say he still has a chance. Like, maybe he gets lurkers or vipers, and he can... It's not going to be... I'm definitely still ahead, but he can turn it around. But he left when he ran out of units, pretty much. And that's... And no further. StatsBot says different. SC2 replay stats calculates it slightly differently. Honestly, I'd probably trust SC2 replay stats more, which said 79. But I'm not going to nitpick that much. So.
Good. Now I have your attention.
All right, one more game.
Winter gaming is
And
not
then
chilling.
we'll have our final match. Probably the reprise of the Solar Flare. Easy enough. Fun. Everybody loves battle cruisers. That's part of the issue with the whole bronze to gold. Jolly Molly, how are you? Yes, this is that game right there. So here's the interesting thing. I guess interesting. I mean, we're doing this for all 3 races. Right. So we're doing Terran, Zerg, and Protoss. For Zergs, I've been teaching lower level Zergs. In case you're religiously only Terran and never even acknowledge the other races, I've been teaching Zergs even in Silver League that Vipers are something to consider. Like, Vipers are very high priority, even over building more units most of the time. And Vipers would have done a lot better than another couple dozen Hydras for that previous opponent. So, I do want to say a lot of people may feel like, especially if they're following my general build or guide, they may feel like their opponents are countering them. It kind of is because I am countering my own builds with the builds of the other races. So, yes, I'll take all the credit in dragging up the entire ladder to understand the game at a level leagues higher than it may have been years ago. All right, I'll take all that credit, I guess. But I am actually, because it's important to know how to deal with things, like for every race. Like, I'm not gonna hide that information from the Zergs. Okay, so what is the summary? You're like, well, what if he gets Vipers? What do I do then? It's like, congratulations, you're now playing a strategy game. That's what you're doing.
Our command center's been upgraded.
Also, if you want the hot tips, you just watch all the series and not just the one that's your main race. And you might learn something you didn't expect about what isn't good for your own race. Let's take a look. And does he have a third? That's all I want to know. Reactor. No third. I don't want to talk about this Marine who totally wanted to come across the map and hang out, but, like, Brenda's home right now. You can't come over. And she's angry.
Add-on complete.
Gonna drop this down. And we're gonna go check the creep before I commit to anything else. I need to know. Any shenanigans? There's no queen here, which is odd.
Add-ons good to go.
Alright. But I've scoured the creep, and I saw nothing. There's no Roach Warren. So there's now a third. Come on home. Start that third command center. Work into the Banshee. Get these two gases. He just took a later third. But with only one gas, he can't do. He just he doesn't have the resources to do a huge all-in. It's just how it is. We're gonna get those factories. I'm gonna get another tech lab there.
Oh, good. Now I have your attention.
Coleosis is chilling for 1 month.
Close the door for now. I'm not even fully saturated on this base, so it's not a super high priority. Hold position I'm using here, because that way my units will attack anything in range, and instead of chasing down the queens, most of my Hellions will instead attack the drones there. So hold position is the lazy man's target fire. It's very nice on adepts as well for Protoss, because it will target whatever's in range, especially if you have lower range units like Hellions, and they won't go all chasing down things like queens. Let's see. He has a lair with roach speed on the way. We gotta get some more chew toys out there.
Add-on complete.
A couple more factories. I'm gonna get a couple medevacs. I'm splitting off Hellions to go to the watchtowers here.
Your forces are under attack.
So he does have roaches. We're gonna get blue flame. We're gonna start 1 and 1. More gas. I have 3 out of 3 in gas. Start those. We need, remember, the threat of mutas is enough, unfortunately. Couple more tech labs. Sensor tower. Make sure all my production is hotkeyed in. Get a Thor or 2 started up. Dropping moulays. Once again, lazy man's target fire. Now we'll actually target. I was mostly building units during all that as a priority.
Looks like that research is done.
A nice spread out tank line. Gonna build another command center as well, because he does have a lot of roaches. Now the next danger, hive. No hive. Upgrades. 1-1. He's building more roaches.
Mineral cluster.
So there's a small threat of burrow move.
Upgrade complete.
I'm gonna send Hellions to that left side
Under attack out there.
right now. And while I'm getting another base, I'm not using it yet. Alright. Right click, hold position. Couple liberators, banshees. Sweet Jesus. Alright, take the 4th.
That mineral cluster's mined out.
Get those gases.
Mineral cluster depleted. Depleted that mineral cluster.
Moving a few tanks over to that base. Usually 3 is enough to shut down pretty much anything. Planetary. I don't want to commit more than 3 because then I don't have enough tanks in my main army. Is there a hive? There's the infestation pit. And honestly, until there's a hive on the way, I'm not really afraid of anything. Like, all he can do is build lair tech units, which might be better than roaches, but are not going to do... I have a larger army than before, so...
Depleted that mineral cluster.
The one risk, I guess, is a muta switch. Though he didn't have much gas with which to think about it, so...
That mineral cluster's mined out.
I'm gonna move this over. I'm going to send a couple Hellions to the watchtower. Gonna hotkey all this in. Bring the SCVs.
Mineral cluster depleted. Your forces are under attack.
That's a lot more like the corrosive. Stacking them all up is bad when it comes to dealing with corrosive bile, but
Add-ons good to go.
if he, once you get to double-digit tanks, he can't fight it without Vipers or Broodlords. You just can't. A Widowmine may have been a misclick. Don't judge me. It happens. No! At least I'm consistent. Ah! Exactly 81 APM again. If I hadn't made that Widowmine. So that's exactly as much as you need. And remember, that was with like the Hellion micro, such as it was. I don't think it's important, like, you don't want to become the Hellion run by person. Okay? You can't rely on Hellions getting in and killing 20 grounds. But the reason you put them out there is because if they don't build units or have units in position, you can kind of just get free kills. But
Good. Now I have your attention.
all right,
Wonder Gaming is now
one
chilling.
more to wrap things up for this episode. It's been a solid one. I think we've really kind of, now that I am showing some different builds for each matchup, we've covered most of the bases of playing Terran. There's still going to be the times when it goes to that ultra late game, which we're not really seeing. Oh, a diamond Terran. Moving up. I mean, at least he has a diamond border. That doesn't necessarily mean anything. But I should be very much intimidated as a Platinum 3 player playing diamond, is what I hear. But it's only like 400 MMR, even if he actually is. Gonna do that gas first expand. Still gonna lean into the cattle bruisers. If only nukes. Yes, I still... Nukes, when the ghosts get killed, should fire at a random location on the map. Preferring the Terran's base. That is my balance change, I think would make the game very good and smart. Alright. Uh-huh. So he has 2 gas. I'm going to hide the SCV back here, by the way, is the plan. I'm gonna get my expansion on the high ground. And then I shouldn't have gotten my second depot here. Well, he's going to lose the SCV, so that's something. Building that pretty far away from the ramp, mostly so I don't get caught, hopefully. I'll see, though. I'm building on the high ground because he's obviously committed to early shenanigans. We're going to patrol this close enough to see if he's expanding. Starport. Orbital. Hellion. And now NG Bay block. Because there are a couple options right now.
Center's been upgraded.
But if I can delay his expand, well, we'll see if he's moving out. That's a tank.
Our base is under attack.
I think I do need to scan.
Good to go.
He's got an expansion. I think he wants to do a double medevac drop, is the situation right now. I'm actually going to get a Widow Mine. He's got 2 tanks. Battle Cruiser is not a terrible counter to what we're seeing either. Amusingly. The Widow Mine is to help potentially just deal with the drops. So there is a vulnerability time, though, where he might have enough to just make things very difficult. I'm gonna move this a little further up. Essentially, right now, I'm just zoning. Get the gas. Engineering bay. And if he waits too long, I have the cruiser, so. It's a macro cruiser. Which means I actually should get a 3rd CC as well. Since we saw he was expanding. The NG Bay is for just turrets. I'm still building Marines because they're the safest bet. Did you see that? Battle cruiser operational.
Got forces under attack out there.
Another Viking. A little bit of everything here. Well, they will trade. Yamato cannon is a real upgrade to get here. I still have the, well, I won the air battle, so I can chase him, and I do have, very important, I have tactical jump ready, so.
Our command center's been upgraded.
He's got a lot of Vikings.
Cluster depleted.
Which ideally we're going to counter. I'm gonna get the armor upgrade.
That mineral cluster's mined out. Depleted that mineral cluster.
I need Vikings as well. You can't. If he has any form of micro, the Vikings beat the battle cruisers, even with Yamato, because you can just simply build so many more.
Got forces under attack out there. Your forces are under attack. Add-ons good to go.
Interesting. More armory. Yes, he's up there as well. He's gonna see this. I got the Yamatos. This is a little awkward. Sensor tower.
Upgrade complete.
We'll go take this base. Another sensor tower. I don't know why all these SCVs are here.
Add-on complete. That mineral. Our base is under attack.
Oh, we got cyclones, which is actually a very smart move. Cyclones are the counter that I forgot about in this equation.
Our base is under attack.
I don't really want to use my Yamatos on them, but I will. Let's get smart servos. More upgrades.
Our base is under attack.
And Thors.
Our command center center's been upgraded. Your forces are under attack.
Okay.
Our command center's been upgraded.
Okay. It went alright. A little messy. But overall, holding the line. High-sec auto-tracking, building armor.
Research complete.
His upgrades +1 ship weapons, so I'm pretty far ahead on that.
Depleted that mineral cluster.
More turrets.
Upgrade complete. Mineral cluster depleted.
More scan.
Add-ons good to go. Looks like that research is done.
94 SCVs may be pushing it.
That mineral cluster's mined out. Upgrade complete.
Ah, here we go. Here's where they all are. More turret. More scan.
Mineral cluster depleted. That mineral cluster's mined out.
Drop a few mules. This should be enough to max out with more ship armor.
Our command center's been upgraded.
Move the tank over there. Raise the TPM.
Our command center's been upgraded.
Maybe I overdid it on the sensor towers, but is there ever such a thing?
Guys is tapped out. Upgrade complete.
No base here, please.
Got forces under attack out there. Depleted that
More
mineral
turret.
cluster.
We've narrowed down where he isn't. Which is important. Not as important as where he is, but
Upgrade complete.
+3 ship weapons. Oh yeah, you could just go right through the center.
Add-on complete.
Okay, we're gonna queue up Yamato.
Our forces are under attack.
I don't think he meant that it was cool. I'm getting a distinct impression that he didn't think it was cool. I'm not sure what tips me off.
Guys are exhausted. That mineral upgrade complete. Got forces under attack out there. Our command center's been up. Your forces are under attack.
Is that a Banshee?
Our base is under attack.
I do attack while moving, so
Got forces under attack out there. Our base is under attack.
they got that going for them.
Completed that mineral cluster.
Repair. You know how long it takes to repair one battle cruiser?
Got forces under attack out there. Depleted.
The Vikings are not bad on the ground with good upgrades. The ship weapons upgrades allow them to actually compete with mech, and that's why mecha. This is why I prefer not to play mech against Terran, is because
Upgrade.
it's very fragile to everything, like ground mech. That is, his even Vikings are a counter to it. All right. You are in it. I can't. Is that, did you say chow? Anyways. I can't even tell, like, I think he's insulting me, but I think he's mostly insulting himself. There's a lot. There's a lot to unpack. It probably took a while to write that as well. Anyways.
Best being guys is tapped out. Guys are exhausted. Mineral cluster depleted.
He denied me the final battle. He's probably typing that since the last battle ended.
That mineral cluster's mined out.
Alright.
Mineral cluster depleted.
Have you ever seen the Uber cannon? Alright. Let's make sure we have it scanned so I can target fire. All traces removed. Yeah, Vikings, so they do 11 extra... Well, I'm not sure if the bonus gets an extra multiplier against mechanical. Ooh, what is this?
Oh, a follower.
Tell your friends. What happened here?
Coca Blunts is chilling
Move
for
along.
32 months.
Depleted that mineral cluster.
Well... No! I overdid it! So, you know what the fun detail on that was? I want to add a fun detail after all that game and all that commentary. He was playing Unranked. He may have forgotten that. He's been 14 times a Diamond player at Ever Masters, though, and that's kind of... There you go. I don't think he was lying about being drunk. I don't think he was lying about anything. I think he just forgot he queued up for Unranked, but he probably queues up for Unranked when he's drunk, so he pretty much only plays Unranked. Yeah. Okay, so here's the storyline. He was able to take down Shit Show, who left a 1-minute match, or 1-second match. And then, before the game we just played, he played four losses. He successfully proxy raxed a Protoss. And then he faced me. It's been a rough night. It's been a rough night. We've all been there. Credit to him for playing so many games. Oh, wow. What are these? He won 8 in a row. I don't even understand what I'm watching here. What he really needs is an intervention, I think, is what we're seeing here. Anyways, Well, that is quite an interesting conclusion to our games for episode 3 of the Terran wait, 3? 4. Episode 4, that's the one. We are now solidly platinum. I think I've done an okay job of covering your basic build order. Though if you have more questions on that, I'm happy to take them in comments or Twitch chat. How unit groups work and how they can go wrong. Worker benchmarks, like 50 workers by 8 minutes. 75 workers as your total number. Basic scouting, have they expanded? How many gas? Is there a barracks in their base? Like, how to set up your buildings. So that way they're not very vulnerable, but also they can help you defend, which I still fail at most of the time. But focusing on production as well. Making sure at 30 to 35 workers, you got factories or barracks 2 or 3. 2 and 3. And then adding on more as you get to a third. Basic micro. When to A-move. When not to A-move. How to siege up tanks. How to struggle with ghosts and liberators. And then when bio and when mech. My recommendation currently is bio against Terran and Protoss and mech against Zerg. Though you could choose one or the other for everything if you want to go with the one size fits all. Multitasking. And how that truly means just having a plan for how to attack and draw your opponent out of position. Late game army in control. What does it look like? How do you use it? When do you need to panic? And advanced benchmarks like maxing out at certain timings. Well, we're aiming for 11 minutes. Getting 2-2 by that same point. Starting an engineering bay before 5 minutes. And then at by 3:30 if it's a 1 base from Terran and Protoss. So there. I'm pretty happy with how it's going so far. I hope you guys have been enjoying. It's been edutaining. I will now take Twitch chat questions as well to wrap things up and dispense what wisdom I can after making this game my life for a long time. We're all getting old. Most of us. Funny how that works. So, any questions? We'll take any. Prefer Terran, but what's your favorite ice cream flavor? It depends. Like, I think there are two schools of thought. It's kind of like bio versus mech with ice cream. Like, sometimes you want something chocolatey, all right? Like a nice double chocolate fudge or something. And that's sometimes. But sometimes you want something fruity, like a lemon sherbet. So those are probably your two generic favorites, but it really depends on your mood, I think. I don't think that necessarily answers the question, but it explains the correct philosophy about ice cream. Will there be low APM challenges from the other races? Yes. Yes. Are there any changes to mech you'd like to see? Yes. How do you deal with Protoss 17 Nexus 5 Adept play as Terran? I've literally never seen that. Build a bunker. Is there a balance for Valks? Vikings? Essentially, if you watch pro games, it actually is just continually building Vikings. But at some point, I usually 4 to 6 Vikings is the number. And then past that, focusing on medevacs, because a lot of players will not keep up their micro, essentially. Like, they'll fly over Marines or whatever. I usually aim for 4 to 6, and then in the late game, it's kind of just who has more, or can take a position and hold it. Like, it is just how it is. It's always been that way in TVT, is air control is everything. It's just... It's not like 2 more Vikings. The reason 2 more Vikings is so good is because your siege tanks can outrange their tanks, because air units have slightly more vision than ground. So it allows you to do a siege tank push, or even a liberator push. But it's not because the Vikings themselves are winning the game. How do you scout if they're going mass Viking if they wall off? If they wall off on 2 base, okay, 1, you're Terran, so you can just scan. For 1. And 2, if they're on 2 base, walled off turtling, you take all the other base, starting with 3. But then you max out at 11 minutes, and you smash them whenever they come out of their cocoon. Do you think we should still build Widow Mines after the patch? The patch didn't even really nerf them. They nerfed Drilling Claws, making them less amazing against players like Reynor. It's 30% slower to burrow, but still faster than... So, yes. The short answer is yes. How to deal with lurkers reliably. Ghost snipes are so hard. Suck it up. That's the only reason Terran is even close to balanced. The longer answer is ranged liberators. But especially now, after the patch... Lurkers burrowing slower is actually a big nerf. Mines burrowing slower is not that much of a nerf at all. Because it's not like that affects how you fight with them. But Lurkers with the Adaptive Talons upgrade now burrow 30% slower, making it so you can almost snipe them before they burrow. The snipe takes about 1.5 seconds. The Lurker now burrows in 1.09. So... the attack doesn't even necessarily reach the ghost by the time you snipe. So it's actually easier to snipe lurkers than before. The other option is just Siege Tank Liberator, which is a less direct option, but obviously goes with a counter. Yes, the lurker nerf is effectively a ghost buff. Is Widowmine a good counter against Viking? No. Is there ever a good time to build more than one Cyclone? It used to be the best counter to Proxy Void Ray. It's still kind of good against most early cheeses. Terran, Protoss, or even Zerg, because it is a unit that can target down strong units like Vikings, Battle Cruisers, Void Rays, Queens, Roaches. I wouldn't rely on it more than like Siege Tank Viking, but in a pinch, that is why you'll see one or two, usually one Cyclone as an opener for many Terran builds, because it's just kind of your option before you get many starport units. Are bunkers worth using mid-game or later? I think so, yes. I think bunkers are underutilized, especially by lower level players. But like a lot of players with like 2,200 minerals maxed out will salvage their bunkers. I'm like, I'm sorry. Did you need the money? I've seen like pro players as well. I've seen Clem salvage a bunker when he's already like he's fine. He doesn't need the money. He's already got 500-600 minerals. He doesn't need the bunker. He doesn't need the marines. Salvages the bunker. 8 charge lots come in, and suddenly it's dicey. Like what I'm trying to say is well-placed bunkers in the later game I think are perfectly fine. Just try not to have more than like 12 supply of your units in bunkers at once. I keep losing to my friend playing Toss versus Zerg, and he has Ravagers. What can I do? You can build air units. And also check out the low APM Protoss challenge. How long should I play with myself a day? Practice my build and whatnot to start? Well, that's a personal question. But I'll just speak generally. I think a just generic recommendation for every 5 games or for every hour you plan on playing, give or take, like, so at least one. You should play at least one game against the AI. You plan on playing like 2-3 hours? You plan on playing like a little bit longer? I don't think over 3 hours is necessarily good, but no more than like 3 games. I think 1 or 2 is fine, and then just get to it. Yeah, Ravagers have been the favorite English second language choice of the Ravager. That does sound very cool since Legacy of the Void came out. Alright. When Protoss start massing cannon, should we start using nuke? Siege tanks. It's not necessarily the worst time for a nuke. Though nukes are not the most reliable for anything. But I do like where your brain's at there. Do you play CSGO? I don't think anyone plays it. They suffer through it. And not recently. Proton can outcannon your nukes, especially if they have a few stalkers. You heard it here first. Any more questions? How do I reset from tilt and from a losing streak? That's a very good one. I think that'll be the... we'll wrap it up on that. So, I do think... I think it's one of the hardest things is to kind of recover from that tilt of everything's terrible and I hate this, and especially, honestly, it happens to me the most with Terran because, you know...
Fuck this game, man.
So, I think a couple options. One, go play an arcade or co-op or something different. Or literally take a break. That's what I used to do before streaming all the time. Was play 3 or 4 hours, take a break, and then come back for another 3 or 4. But another thing is Direct Strike, Zerg Wars, just something that's still kind of StarCraft related, but isn't 1v1 ladder. Maybe even a team game, but that could be worse. It might be worse. It doesn't necessarily help. Honestly, I don't recommend team games. I wish I could. It usually just makes me more tilted when I play a casual team game. So I do recommend the arcade. Also, off racing. I think everyone, if they have the time, should play 3/4 of their main and then pick whichever race you think is the most bullshit. And play that the other quarter. Like you play 20 games in a week, 15 is Terran and 5 is Protoss. Or random, but that has the risk. I think that helps a little bit, one, with perspective, and two, just, I mean, mixing it up in general. So, yeah, that's a good question. And some people, I find myself, like, that's why these episodes are as long as they are, is about 2.5 hours of playing is when I start losing focus, especially if I'm trying to do anything coherently. Like, I can grind out the games, but I think after that point it starts being less productive, at least without taking a break. So give it a shot. And maybe another one is, of course, SC2 replay stats. You can check out that training center and pick out a new thing to work on for the next game, especially if you're playing enough that you don't really care about losing 50 MMR today, because you know you'll get 100 tomorrow. So, well, I want to thank you guys for watching. I hope you're excited about the new SC2 patch that has very little effect on these level of games, but makes, honestly, the entire patch. The pros have put together a patch that makes the ladder a little less bullshit. So, and that truly, it wasn't a balanced patch. It was essentially all pros agreed, this is bullshit. And it definitely was even more bullshit for you, my friends. Everyone knows what everyone hates. So hopefully we'll see some more in the future, but hopefully that inspires you. If you were kind of sick of it on the ladder, know that maybe a little bit less in the future. So, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Like, subscribe. Jimmy, no, not this one.
Oh,
I hope I made your day
is that all?
and your games
Resurrected
a little
one
bit
is
better.
chilling for 45 months.
Good luck, have fun. I'll see you next time as we go towards dying. Good luck, Terrence. Stay chill.